Hey Heather, hi
Hey, Mike.
audience.
How are you?
Finding yourself?
Doing good. You are showing off. You know I can't do that.
I love to show off.
What is your favorite thing to show off with? Is it unicycling? Is it juggling? What do you like performing in front of people the most?
Lately, it's obviously magic.
Hmm.
I personally get my own satisfaction from juggling and unicycling, even if nobody's watching. But magic, you definitely need an audience, and people would not do magic if it weren't for the response they get from the audience. So, yeah, definitely got to be magic.
Cool. One day we are going to have the very exclusive Shackleford magic show for invites only.
Hmm.
So what's new with you? How are you doing? Have you done any hiking or mountain climbing or anything rappelling? Anything
Oh, I'm
interesting?
always mountain climbing, nothing really big far away from Vegas, but just a number of day hikes. And so I since the last live stream, oh yeah, I also did my kayak trip that was right after that live stream. So I did a 3-day kayak trip on Lake Mead, pretty much completing the whole lake. So I've now kayaked everything from the far east end of Lake Mead all the way down to Laughlin, and I want
Wow.
to keep that going. And yeah, just a bunch of day hikes. And I think I
Okay.
might show some pictures of either a hike
Hmm.
um, or the kayak trip later in the show.
Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be fun. So, as we are doing our normal opening, if you guys are watching, if you have a question that you want to ask Mike, please put it in the chat and we will get to it in the order that it is received. Do we have trivia questions today, or did
No,
I
no
already
trivia,
ask
but
that?
I want to remark that I like your look, Heather. Is it
Thanks.
Princess Leia?
You're so mean. You know, I'm not a Star Wars person.
I know, but I can't think of anyone else to compare the look to.
So, it's a half look. If anyone out there knows Sailor Moon, you know the two buns on top, the meatballs, meatball head. That's what she's known as, meatball head for the
Hmm.
buns.
Hmm.
She typically has two pieces of hair coming on the sides. If I did that, they would be frizzy and everywhere and horrible. And you would be like, what the heck are you doing? That just looks awful. So I just have the buns.
So this is a comic book character?
Yes, it's an anime character. I got into it in the 90s, so it's an old anime character. I think she was created in the 80s, I believe, but she is still a very popular anime character today.
And what kind of personality does she have?
She's a ditz. She's an airhead. She gets
Hmm.
horrible grades. She's a klutz, but she's very friendly and nice, and she is empathetic, and she is very uh, wanting to help people and be there for people.
And does she solve mysteries? Does she turn into a crime fighting superhero at
Yes.
night? Anything like that?
Yes. She turns into a crime fighting superhero, and her identity is unknown, and nobody knows who she is. But everybody knows her alter ego because that alter
Hmm.
ego saves the city time and time again.
So when she becomes a her superhero alter ego, is she still like very good, like Wonder Woman, where she only uses violence as an absolute last resort, or is she more of a vigilante like Batman that takes pleasure in delivering pain to villains?
Ooh, I don't think Batman takes pleasure in pain
I
to
think
his
he does.
villains. Can I send you a video after this live stream where it goes into the whole, like, into Christopher Nolan's Batman and how he does not do that? In fact, he is quite the opposite, where he uses pain to save the city and help other people. I will give you that video. That is a great video.
Okay, I don't dispute that you could deliver such a video, and I would agree that the Batman from the TV show with Adam West um, was, I mean, I think he enjoyed a good kapow smash fist fight, but it never got beyond that. But the Batman of the movies, I think, was actually quite dark, and I think took pleasure in administering a little bit of street justice from time to time. But maybe we'll just have to agree to disagree on this.
Yep, I will respectfully disagree with that, and I will send you the video, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say after you watch that video.
Okay.
Yay.
All right,
okay.
Let's get into some gambling questions. Unless you have another comment.
Nope. Okay, so our first gambling question comes from Paul. And Paul says, is there a clear legal line between electronic games of luck, like slots, and games of skill, like video poker?
Yeah, no one's ever asked me that before. And here in Nevada, both are legal, so I don't think anyone needs to draw a line. But there are some states where games of skill, like true video poker, are illegal. So they make video poker that's fudged to be just a game of luck. Like if, say, you got a royal flush on the deal and threw it away, you would happen to get another one back on the draw. But other than the obvious of a game of skill having some effect of the player's free will over his destiny, I don't know. That's about the best I can do with that one.
I think the question would be better is what's the difference between a game of skill and cheating? So example, what's the difference between card counting and pass posting, for example? I think that would be
about that
better.
A long time. I don't think that's what he was asking, but since you said it, I would absolutely say that card counting is a legitimate form of skill, and pass posting is absolutely cheating.
Definitely.
Neither of them even come close to the gray area.
What does come close to the gray area?
Something that might come close to the gray area is, let's say that the casino is giving you a loss rebate and the player is rat-holing chips to make it look like he's losing more than he really is. That definitely, I would say, is moral cheating, but not legal cheating.
Okay. Sounds good. I feel so weird not having a trivia question and going back and forth between the trivia question and the normal questions. It just feels very strange.
I was almost going to do citizenship trivia because I did a hike yesterday with a woman who just took the citizenship test like 2 days ago, and she was grilling me. And then I looked at the questions online and I thought, these are like too easy, even the hardest ones. I think I would have gotten like a 98% on this test. But I didn't want, I like tough questions, so I didn't want to insult the audience with things like how many senators there are, what are the three, how does it framed, 3 branches of the U.S. government, stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. So our next question is also from Paul. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on cell phones at the poker table and the potential for glasses or contacts that could see otherwise invisible markings on cards?
I don't play much poker, so I can't speak to this that well, but I do think that using a cell phone at any gambling table is rude. I think it's probably fine to text if you're out of the hand. But I also think that a cell phone could be used as a mirror. So yeah, I don't like it. And certainly if a casino had a rule against that, I would absolutely respect it.
Okay. And have you ever seen those glasses or contacts that could see otherwise invisible markings on cards?
I've heard of them, but I've never actually seen them.
Okay.
Okay, but this is not a topic I know a great deal about.
I got one for you. Have you ever worn contacts?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was going to say, what you think?
No, I wouldn't be. My long distance vision is fine, and I only need glasses like this when I'm reading or looking at a computer screen, or need to do something where I need to see close-up objects. In which case, I tend to be taking them on and off a lot. So. Okay. I don't want to be sitting there taking contacts in and out a lot. So there you go.
Next question is, what are your thoughts on the Japanese pachinko machines and why aren't they in the U.S.?
I have never been to Japan. I do know about them. When I had my gaming class at UNLV, somebody did a presentation on them. Um, I do know that they can be an advantage play because I think that there's basically like jackpots of balls that fill up, and when a player gets a ball in a certain, they're called flowers, then it will release all those balls. So if there is a jackpot that has an unusually large number of balls in it, then it can be an advantage play. And um, but people that I've talked to that go to Japan, they say these pachinko parlors are really loud and smoky, so yeah. And why aren't they allowed in the U.S.? I think I don't know of any law in Nevada that at least that would prohibit them, but people like what they like. You know, they just I think that they probably would be allowed here. They just have never caught on, or at least if someone asked them to be legal, I can see no reason why they wouldn't be.
When you were talking about the pachinko machines being big in Japan, the entire time I'm thinking big in Japan, big in Japan, and now I'm going to have that song stuck in my head all day.
I'm not even familiar with that song, so don't blame me this time.
As far as why they're not in the U.S. casinos, my theory on that is the casino space. You only have so much casino space, and those would take up a big portion of that casino space, and you only have one person playing at a time versus 5 or 6, which is your normal table. So I would assume they would get less money from that machine.
Well, I think that they take up about the same space as a slot machine.
Oh, I thought they were
Um,
bigger. Okay.
but casinos really value their square footage, and if they waste space on a pachinko game, they're going to demand that it pull in a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's about as far as I can take that one.
Okay, so our next question comes from Shadow. What is your opinion of the increase in electronic craps tables and computer controlled dice machines?
Um, I'm not surprised by this. I have been predicting this for years that um, the casinos are going to be phasing into what's I call stadium gaming, and it's not just craps, but it's also blackjack and baccarat too. Um, the casino would much rather plug something in than pay a human being to deal a game. And personally, I find live gaming much more fun. So it's bad for me, but I can't blame the casinos for doing it. To be honest with you, I'm sure that they perceive that they just make more money that way. And you and I don't think that I'm going to be revealing any big secret by saying this, but when I was at the Venetian, it was my opinion that they did not make a profit on a $50 blackjack player, even if that blackjack player was a recreational player at about a 2% disadvantage, because the house edge, because just the cost of labor is so high, and they and just a $50 player is not enough. Now, I'm not saying that they should make all their tables, if I were still there, $50 minimums or more, but because sometimes you pull a player in at a lower level, and then you build up that player to be a bigger fish. But table games are not as that profitable for casinos, and I think that they have as many as they do because they view it more as an amenity to the slot players. So that's about as far as I can take that one.
Yeah, I agree. And then also to if anyone's been in a casino and they've seen those stadium games, because you were talking about the stadium games, there is literally like 40 or 50 seats that 40 or 50 players could sit at and one dealer.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And by the yeah, and by saying stadium gaming, I also probably incorrectly included machines like bubble craps where there's like four players sitting around one unit. But yeah, anything that cuts down on the number of dealers a casino needs, they probably like. And during COVID was their perfect opportunity to think about things like this, especially during the 3-month shutdown, and completely rearrange their floor space.
Yeah, and they were only inviting the personnel that they wanted back, and if they didn't want you or like you just were never called back. You were not technically fired, but you just never worked there again.
And that's as it should be. Again, I don't think I'm revealing any big secret with this, but after 9/11, the Venetian let a lot of people go, and they did it randomly by social security number, I believe. And the floorman said this was our perfect opportunity to get rid of our dead weight dealers, but they didn't do it that way. If I was in charge, I would have.
I don't. Yeah, you worked at the Venetian. At the Venetian, they're a little bit different from other casinos because they're not union, so therefore they try to give their people a better policies and procedures. So one of the things that they have for human resources is like a judge and jury courtroom type of thing. And you have to actually go through this courtroom with the judge and jury to determine if you being fired is acceptable or not.
Yeah, and again, I don't think I'm revealing anything confidential, but the supervisors hated that procedure. They said it was so difficult to jump through all the hoops to get rid of a bad dealer that it just wasn't worth them to fight it.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Let's see. So this comes from Shadow. Is there any way to reverse a casino claiming a slot malfunction, especially when it is clearly evident on videos that no malfunction ever happened?
Well, you can in Nevada, you can fight it through the gaming control board, which happens a lot, and usually, and I believe correctly, the casino wins. There sometimes are malfunctions, and if the casino, if it appears that the player won a big jackpot and they say it was a malfunction, I think the player is almost certainly going to complain to it through gaming. And I think gaming will give it a good fair look. And if it was a malfunction, then they're going to side the casino's way.
Yeah, and anyone who hasn't had this experience before, the Nevada Gaming Control Board is extremely easy to get a hold of.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have their phone number in front of me, but all you have to do is Google it, Nevada Gaming Control Board. It gives you a phone number. They pick up every single time. You don't have to wait an hour or two to speak to someone. And they're very helpful, very friendly, and they're there for you. It's just amazing.
Right. And there's a regulation that probably a lot of casino employees don't know. But if a casino patron asks for gaming's phone number, they must give it to them.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. If I was a dealer and they were asking me that, I would just call over the floor supervisor and they would probably find the number. Okay, next one is going to be a very easy question. Have you ever made money at gambling?
Oh, yeah, of course. I have not made millions, but I think that I've made...
Technically you have. It just wasn't gambling, but it was about gambling.
Right. Yes. I mean, like as a player betting. But I have done well with tournaments. I've done well with sports betting. So yeah, absolutely. I've done well with gambling. Has it all been worth my time? That's debatable. But I think that if a person is going to be writing about gambling, he should be gambling. So, and if I must be gambling, then I prefer to have an advantage, and I will seek one out wherever I can.
What is your favorite casino to gamble at right now at this moment?
There's no one casino that really is an order of magnitude above the second best, but if you put a gun to my head, I really like the South Point. It's not so much because the table game experience is so good, but they have good rules and they're generous with comps, and they have good restaurants and everything is very reasonably priced. And I like the way the place is run.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Okay, so our next question, do you think online casinos cheat?
Absolutely. I've proven many times how they cheat. and I don't want to get into it, but go to my online casino blacklist and you will see several casinos or software companies that I've blacklisted for cheating, and I very carefully lay out my evidence for making that accusation.
Okay, now I want to ask a question sort of piggybacking on this question. We have a gaming control board for each state that there's casinos. Is there a gaming control board for online casinos?
No.
Or so they're like a Wild West, so it doesn't matter if they
Well, it
cheat or
certainly
not.
used to be like that, and I would say that any casino in Costa Rica or Curacao, there pretty much is no regulation, and that's how it all was at the beginning. But now online gambling has been legalized in more first world countries like the British Channel Islands, Malta, and this is not something I'm an expert about, but I would like to think that if you have a dispute with a casino out of, say, the Isle of Man, that maybe there's some branch of government that would entertain a complaint. But the number of times I've ever heard of a player going through a government entity with a internet casino dispute is zero. I'd be interested to hear any stories if anyone has one. But yeah, it's pretty much still the casinos can do whatever they want. But I think that there are more respectable people in the industry now. Certainly not all of them, but it's not a little man's business anymore. Most of the successful internet casinos are worth tens of millions of dollars, and they are run by respectable people. Not all of them, but it's in terms of regulation, it's much better than it used to be.
Okay. I'm surprised that when Nevada and New Jersey made online gambling legal, they just didn't put the oversight onto the gaming control board, because both Nevada and New Jersey have a gaming control board. So I'm surprised they just didn't put that on there.
I think that the gaming control board here would still regulate any bet made with a Nevada, a bet made on the internet where the player was in Nevada. I assume that, but
Okay.
don't know for sure. But it's
Okay.
already quite regulated in terms of that they really screen the bets to make sure that they were placed in Nevada quite carefully.
That's interesting. Our next question is what do you think about new companies allowing cryptos to gamble, which is just the front to launder money?
Oh boy. Again, this is not something I know a great deal about, and I just don't know enough about it to comment.
Okay. Next question. This is from Paul. If I'm leading in a poker tournament and agree to a split, what's the proper way to manage this so I don't suffer the tax burden if I'm officially stated as the winner?
That's a good question. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a real strong poker player, and I don't know that I've ever played in a cash tournament, to be honest with you. But I thought, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, is let's say that there's 10 players left and there's say $1 million in prize money. And I thought that if they agreed to split up the pot, I guess in proportion to everyone's chips, that if it was everyone agreed to it, then that's what would happen, and they wouldn't even play another hand.
I think it's because what he's talking about is the pot itself is over the tax burden amount that you have to claim it. But if you split the pot, then it's under the tax burden. Am I correct on that?
I don't think that that's the case. I think that with poker, it's basically you're on the honor system to pay your taxes. Now, if the casino is posting a jackpot to say the winner, then that would be taxable. And
it's also about whether you go to the bank or not. So when you go to the banker to cash in your chips, if you go under the tax amount, they won't report it. But if you go over the tax amount, they'll have you do the paperwork at the cashier's cage.
Yeah, and that amount is $10,000, by the way, but I'm not sure I get your question about it.
So if they split, so okay, you're at poker, you win the big pot's over the tax amount, you split it, but you're only taking that split amount to the cashier's cage. So if the split amount is under the taxable amount needed to, do taxes, the cashier's cage won't have you do that tax paperwork because it's under the amount. It's at the cashier's cage. It's not at the table.
Well, the cage is not going to care that this money was won in poker or was it the result of a split jackpot. You just have chips in your hand.
Right.
And as long as you're not presenting over $10,000 in chips, then they're going to pay you, no questions asked.
Exactly. And you can even take those chips home and keep them,
sure.
And then only, do 500 or 1,000 at a time or whatever you want to do at a time.
Right. Now, I should say that it is against the rule to structure. So
we're not telling you to do that at all.
Right.
Don't
right.
say
So I am not advocating anyone avoid paying taxes or break the law. So
no,
let me say
not at all.
that let's say that you had a really large amount of money in chips, like let's say $500,000, and you consistently go to the casino every single day and cash out 9,900 of them. That is called structuring. That is like going beyond what normal people do to evade that $10,000 limit. And casinos do watch for this. And I know of someone who was kicked out of a casino for doing this. And so I just needed to throw that in there.
Yeah. So don't do that. This is completely theory, all theory.
just pointing out truthful information.
Exactly. Okay. Should we go on to the next question?
Why don't we take a little break and let me show you guys some license plates.
Yes. Okay,
so this is I have thousands of them, and I just grabbed a random bin from my office before the show of just license plates that don't really fit into any other category very well. But I'm a fan of the TV show Friday Night Lights. And when that show ended, they had an auction of some of the props from that show. And these were the license plates, and they're not real license plates from Coach Taylor's car. And whoever made these did a darn good job, but they're not real. They're actually made of plastic. But I should have got a real one to compare them to. I also collect ID cards. And this was Coach Taylor's driver's license.
Ooh.
And look at his picture. Doesn't this look like he's kind of like grumpy from waiting in line for hours, like his hair's kind of messy? I thought that was funny. And so kudos to, I forgot the actor's name who plays Coach Taylor, but I really like this. And by the way, somebody has been nagging me to sell him one of these license plates because this person was also a big Friday Night Lights fan. And for a long time, I said, I can't find them. I lost them, but I found them. So in the unlikely event that you're watching this, please reach out to me again, and I'll talk to you about selling one of them.
Oh, we have more?
Well, I had a pair of them. Okay. So moving right along, one kind of license plate I especially like are the Pacific Island countries. And I have a special interest in Palau. And Palau has like 25 different states within it. And I have nice displays in my house of Palau license plates. But these are just some duplicates. But I think Palau, this I think is perhaps the most attractive license plate that I own. I mean, isn't this great?
That's awesome.
This is really artistic in my opinion. So I could go on and on with these Palau license plates. I have so many of them. Okay, here's one from our own Guam. No, I'm sorry. This is from the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands. And notice how they have to remind us it's part of the United States. Here's yet another Palau one. Don't you just love that crab?
Yeah.
Yet another Palau one. Palau. Here is one from the Marshall Islands. And yes, the Marshall Islands is an independent island country. It's near Fiji. Very nice license plates. Another country you don't hear of very often is the Federated States of Micronesia.
Ooh, Island of the Sleeping Lady.
Yes, this is I think just one part of the Federated States of Micronesia. I believe this is another one of the Trust Territory. Yeah, I believe this is part of Micronesia. No, it's not. Truck. To be honest, I'm not sure which country that belongs to. Here's Yap Island. You know, maybe it is, because look how similar these are in style. And I'm pretty sure that Yap is part of the Federated States of Micronesia. There's Yap again. This is the Norfolk Islands.
Wow, that's small.
You might say, where are the Norfolk Islands? Go to Wikipedia real quick to check. That is a part of Australia. It's like a little island way off the east coast of Australia. There's Yap again, the island of stone money. This is the Johnston Atoll. This is, I believe, like Hawaii doesn't just have like the 8 islands. There continue to be little islands for hundreds and hundreds of miles going west in the Pacific. And the Johnston Atoll is just one of them. I think it's just barely big enough to put an airport and a military base at. Here is American Samoa. This one is Vanuatu, another independent island country in the Pacific. I knew I had a Guam in here somewhere. And by the way, I just saw a Guam license plate like a month ago here in Las Vegas, and that made my day. Style of Guam, yet another style of Guam. There's another type of Guam license plate. This one does not belong in here, but I try to get one Nevada license plate of every different like fundraiser style they have, and I have a separate box for these. I don't know why that's in here. Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
There's an Alaska legislator plate in the wrong bin. Of course, I can't not have Hawaii license plates, specializing in the Pacific Islands. And Alaska has a lot of islands in the Pacific, so I try to have a respectable collection of Alaska plates.
Are these all of your license plates you had up on your wall?
No, none of these.
Oh, so those are still all up on the wall?
Yep, they're still there. And maybe
You have
sometime
so
I'll
many.
do like maybe a tour of my house on a live stream.
You have an interesting looking house.
So I have a whole bunch from state senators and representatives. This is just one example. I could show you lots and lots of them. Like here's one from New York.
He literally has at least 10 times what he's showing you guys.
I
10
do.
times. Like, we are not exaggerating.
Of this bin, I probably have like 30 to 40 times more.
At least.
Okay, so I also have a particular interest in California license plates, which I love. I think California, I just love their coloring and their fonts and everything. But some states have special license plates for their consulates, not to be confused with embassies, including California. This is one I recently got on eBay. This is a tough license plate to get. I'm very proud of it. Here's a consulate license plate from Hawaii. Okay, this is one that's much loved by collectors and non-collectors. This is Nunavut. I think in the 90s, or maybe the zeros, Canada's Northwest Territory split off a territory and called it Nunavut. And they copied the same size of their license plates used in the Northwest Territories, but they don't anymore. Okay, here's more state senators. More of those. Okay, here's another. I like these consulate license plates. Here's one from Oregon. Here's one from Arizona. Now, I also have a particular interest in Bahama license plates. And when I went to the Bahamas, they had this style here commemorating the 500th anniversary of Columbus landing there. And by the way, both the Bahamas and the Dominican Republic claim that they were where Columbus first set foot in the New World. I find it interesting that both countries make this claim, and I think that in history, it's not really sure which one he went to first. Now, you might say Nassau, that's no big deal. That's most of the population of the Bahamas live in Nassau, but I also have some of the very, very unpopulated islands like Berry Island, and you know it can't have that much of a population if my license plate is number 24. Grand Bahama is one of the big ones. Abaco is the biggest in area and another fairly big one. Another little one that was tough to get was San Salvador. Inagua, the T stands for truck. Eleuthera, Ragged Island, this was a tough one. Exuma, and I'll just say the others: Rumke, Mayaguana, Bimini, and I think there's only like 2 or 3 left in the Bahamas that I need, and I've needed them for like 20 years, and I check eBay almost every day for license plates, but I've just never seen them come up.
Wait, which ones do you need? Maybe if someone's like watching, they can hook you up.
The chances of that are so remote that I'm not going to bother to look it up. St. Eustatius, where was that? Let me look it up real quick. St. Eustatius. That is a little island in the Caribbean. And yes, I know the Caribbean is not in the Pacific. I don't necessarily have to stay within the Pacific. Like here's another one in the Caribbean. Of course, I have the Virgin Islands. Here's more Virgin Islands. Here's Haiti. This was a tough one to get. Interestingly, it's often the poor countries that are tougher to get license plates from. And Cuba is another tough one. Any communist country or a very strong dictatorship tends to be a tough place to get license plates from. So that's all I've got for you today. I tried to not spend too much time on it, but maybe I'll grab another bin on another live stream and show you guys more.
That was pretty amazing.
Thanks.
And you're like a natural collector. This isn't the only thing you collect. You collect a whole bunch of stuff.
I also collect. I mentioned I collect ID cards, casino chips, coins, paper money.
You collect dice. You have this huge thing of dice that you've been collecting since you were a kid. And
when I was a kid, I was an avid dice collector, and I still have a big jar in my house that houses most of that collection.
It's amazing. It really is. Seeing your collection.
To me, it's just a big jar full of dice now, but I really put a lot of time and money into it when I was a kid.
I remember the first time I saw that jar of dice, I'm like, I need a picture of that. So before we go on to questions, one of our viewers said you shaved. You didn't shave your head.
Well, I'm not sure if it's because most of the time, like I probably only shave like every 3 days or so because I'm lazy.
Your head. Show people your ponytail.
Oh, no, I just put in the ponytail today.
Yeah, he didn't shave. There's no shaving.
Nope.
Okay. Our next question comes from Damien. And he says, is there any truth in people saying the casinos put looser slots at the entrance to get people in the casino?
No. You know, I can't say that nobody does that, but in the early 2000s, I was doing a lot of research into this and found that for a typical type of game, like let's say back then, like penny slots were popular. If a casino set them, say, at 92%, then pretty much all of them were close to 92%, and it didn't matter the location. So the way the myth is usually presented is the casinos put their loose slots by the entrances and places with a lot of traffic because they want um, traffic to see people winning and happy. But it's just not true.
Okay. Going on to our next question. I just learned the difference between Class 2 and Class 3 video poker. On a Class 2 game, should I always throw away all of my cards since I can only do equal or better?
I would claim that you're always going to do exactly equally. For the benefit of other audience members, Class 2 games are games of luck. And what you win is ultimately determined by a draw of bingo balls that you probably don't even see. But let's say that this draw of bingo balls indicated that you should win $20. Then it would give you, then your final hand in video poker would, no matter what, be a $20 win. So let's say that a full house pays $20 and it just so happens to give you that on the deal. And let's say that you throw that away. You would get another one on the draw. And I gave this example before. Like, let's say you're predestined to get a royal, and it gives it to you on the deal. If you throw it away, you're going to get another one on the draw. Now, let's say that you only keep one of the cards, like say the Queen of Diamonds, out of a full royal in diamonds. Then you would say, well, it's going to be impossible to get a royal on the draw because you're holding on to that Queen of Diamonds and you're throwing away the other part of that royal. Then what will happen is, just a minute. Thank you. Where was I? What was I talking about? Yeah, then something will happen is like a fairy, like you might get dealt trash on the draw, but then something like a fairy will come and change your trash into a royal.
Nice.
So yeah, in a Class 2 game, I claim that you can do whatever you want, and it will not change your expected return at all.
Okay, very cool. My question is, what snack did you get?
Apples and oranges.
That sounds good.
So my mother-in-law takes good care of me.
That's so cool.
To be honest, I don't really like fruit that much, but that's what was available.
Our next question is, what is the legal definition of finding a chip on the floor of the casino? Do you have to turn it in? If you keep it, can you be subject to legal action?
I can't speak for every state, but in Nevada, that chip technically belongs to the casino, and you would legally should, if you pick it up, then you should turn it in. And I'm not saying that everyone does that. I think most people, if they saw a $5 chip on the floor, would just put it in their pocket. And I think that the casino would not do anything about that. But technically you are supposed to turn it into security. And if nobody properly claimed that chip after so many days, then I think they're supposed to give it to you.
Can I add my 2 cents?
Sure.
When I was a casino dealer, and I probably shouldn't say the casino I worked at, I found a $5,000 chip on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I was walking with my supervisor and I picked it up. I'm like, oh, cool, a $5,000 chip. And she's like, why did you do that? And I'm like, do what? And she's like, pick it up because you're an employee and you picked up that chip off the floor. You have to give it back to the casino or you will be fired. But if you are a player, then you don't have to give it back to the casino. But I think it was under a certain amount. So if it's under, I believe it was $1,000 chip. If it's less than $1,000 chip, the player could keep it. But if it's over $1,000 chip, like where they start, actually keeping track of the chips, then you have to turn it in. And yes, technically, if you turn it in, the casino will give it back to you within 30 days, but nobody tracks that and nobody actually does it. Like I turned that $5,000 chip in, and nobody said anything. And I was like, well, don't I get it back? And the security guard was like, yeah, right. The casino's keeping it. They're not giving it back to you. Like that's just what they tell you. But that was my experience.
Okay, I have to say I really disagree with the ethics of the supervisor. The way I interpret what she was saying is that you should leave it on the floor so that somebody can steal it.
That's what she was saying. No, she was totally saying that. She said, I should have left it on the floor and then come back after my shift and then pick it up because I wouldn't be working as an employee. And therefore, as a player, I could keep it. And that's literally what she told me. I turned it in because I'm on the clock and everyone saw, and, so I turned it in and nothing ever happened. But she literally said that to me. What you were saying, she literally told me to do that.
Well, first of all, I think that chip would not be still on the floor hours later when your shift was over. And
probably not.
but even if it were, that would still be you stealing. So I absolutely think you did the right thing. And I know that it hurts that you didn't get that money when nobody claimed it, but you still did the right thing. So you definitely would get karma points if I were the one passing them out. And by the way, this story is not as good, but one time I was walking through the Tropicana, and I can say it because I don't work there, and a security guard was carrying a rack full of chips for a table fill, and he tripped, and chips, including greens and blacks, went all over the floor.
Oh, no.
And players jumped out of their seats and were grabbing these chips like it was an Easter egg hunt. And I was a little bit far away, but I think it was $100 chip rolled right to my foot. And I picked it up and I went to hand it to an employee, but another player jumped and grabbed it out of my hand.
Oh my God, vultures.
And I bet none of those players turned any of those chips in. And I hope that security looked at faces and tried to throw some people out or confronted them about it. But I thought it was really disgusting how that went down.
Yeah. The behavior of people in Las Vegas is very surprising. But that's a whole nother video. Okay, so another question?
Yep.
Why are there not regulations on the size of the craps table? Each casino seems to have a various size table.
Why are there not? Why should there be a regulation?
And I think there's only like what, 3 sizes? There's a 12-foot, a 14-foot, and a 16-foot, I believe. Or
right, but to things like that, I would say let the free market determine the size of the table. Like let's say the government says no, a table must be at least this big or cannot be bigger than that. Who is that going to benefit? Just again, just let the free market work it out. And I think the size of craps tables are just fine. I think that they are appropriate for, say, a crew of 3 people to handle. And if it was much bigger, it might be hard to throw the dice to the other side. So that's my opinion on that.
Good point. Okay, so our next question is, what are some ways to generate more comps for my gambling dollar without playing games with a poor house edge?
Well, one could talk about this all day long, and there are definitely players that try to milk the system by making the casino think that their value as a player is more than it really is, including me when I was a more active gambler. So certainly a way you can do this is not bet every hand, and look for certain dealers that are supervisors that tend to rate generously. A lot of supervisors will have a policy that the lowest bet I ever see you make is what I'm going to put as your average. Some of them might have a policy where the very first bet that I see is what I'm putting down as your average. So it's good to know who the latter kind of supervisor is, then throw out a big bet on your first bet and then drop it down, stuff like that. But it helps to befriend the supervisors, maybe even give them gifts, which I know you're not supposed to do, but players that are take this seriously, do no faces, and know who the generous comping supervisors are. And yeah, one could talk about this all day long, but that is just scratching the surface of it.
Yeah, and also too, there are supervisors out there who specifically ask their dealers for the information. So when did he sit down? How long was he there? What is his average bet? Is he playing every hand? And that's just a normal thing that a floor supervisor will come up to a dealer and ask them, and then use that for the ratings card.
And that's what you're supposed to do. But maybe
Yeah.
maybe there are dealers out there that, if they're well tipped, will inflate your average bet.
That's very true. And then there are also dealers who are not paying attention, and they might give you a lower rating than what you were supposed to get. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Or if they don't like you, they might give you a lower one too.
Yeah. So again, this is just scratching the surface of a big topic.
Huge. Okay. So our next question is first a statement, then a question. Thank you so much for your great work and for putting so many things out there so we can gamble right away. Are there any plans on putting some videos out on sports betting?
The short answer is no. I'm all in favor of ideas to make a video about that, but it seems to me that sports betting is, I can just explain it in writing fairly well. I think what makes for good video is something like how to play a table game, where examples are really helpful. But again, if you have a particular sports betting video idea, I'm all ears.
Okay, sounds cool.
So, are there more questions, or should I show you some pictures?
We do have a lot more questions, but do you want to take a break and do pictures?
Maybe I'll show you guys some pictures from my kayak trip.
I think you can share the screen.
Okay. I know I did this last time. Share.
You got it okay?
Okay,
there we go.
What do you see?
We got it. We got infinity.
Okay. Now these are going to be totally out of order because other people on the trip provided pictures. So right now they're in just file size order. So 7 people went. I'm not going to, in the interest of privacy, I'm not going to say people's names, but these are 2 of the people who went. And notice how nice and glassy smooth the water was. We were really fortunate to have really, really nice weather, especially no wind. And here we are, 6 of us. One person was taking the picture when we were about to set out at the Temple Bar Marina in Arizona. And my kayak, by the way, is I don't know if you can see the mouse, but this blue one that's third from the right.
I think you can zoom in on the picture and it will show it.
Well, it's not important. So here's one of our campfires. And yes, we did haul along firewood to do this. And if you're ever on a kayak trip, it really is nice to bring a chair. So these are all folding chairs. I think this is back at Temple Bar. This was a rest stop that we did on the last day. So we took a break like every 2 hours or so. And this was like, the way this trip worked is maybe I'll go to Google Maps, but there was like a big lake section that was very open and wide. And then we went through a channel, and then we went through another open wide section. And this was inside the channel, where it felt a little more like a river than a lake. And by the way, you can see the bathtub ring here on the right side. So the lake level used to be as high as the top of this white part here on the right. And again, I'm going to try to not say names, but just more pictures from the trip. This is where we camped the first night, a very nice flat spot, and there was nobody around. Despite being only 50 miles from Las Vegas, there was not another soul to be seen. The only sign of civilization was occasionally a plane flying overhead. So it was
Nice.
so peaceful and just a beautiful starry sky. This is where we
Oh,
camped the second
nice.
day, where the cliffs were a little higher. And you might say that way across the river looks nice and flat and sandy, which it was. But this part of the lake is closer to the Las Vegas Marina, so it was a little bit noisier with boats. So rather than go to this noisy section where people with their boats would party, we went to this nice little cove and had a nice quiet time. Here's that same cove again. And here we are back at the first camping spot. And
Now, you don't have to tell us anything about the people that joined you. I'm just curious to know, were they friends and family, or were they part of a club that you went with?
they're all part of my hiking club.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
Yep, these are all avid hikers.
Sweet.
Yeah, this is just another spot where we took a rest, and just really nice. It's really nice to have a campfire at the end of a long day. And this guy brought along some of these lights that are solar powered. Here's our camping spot the second night, so you can kind of see our tents here. And by the way, up this, if you were to go further to the right side, there were a whole bunch of logs that were gnawed by a beaver. So
Oh.
we had plenty of firewood that second night.
I didn't know we had beaver in
Yeah, I was
Nevada.
rather surprised. In fact, when I first said, I said, like, who was making spears out of all these woods? And then the other guy on the trip said, no, this looks like they were gnawed by a beaver.
Wow.
So yeah, I have never seen a beaver anywhere close to here.
And how many days was this?
This was 3 days, 2 nights. And yeah, of course, everyone brought wine.
Of course. The water looks beautiful.
Oh, it was such perfect weather. We were really lucky. And this was during the Olympics, and we had various like games like rock skipping contests and balancing paddles the longest. Okay, this is a lizard. The second night we were like packing up our stuff, and one of the ladies on the trip like totally freaked out, like, there's a lizard in my tent. And and someone asked her, was he there all night long? And she said, I don't know. She was afraid to get near it. So I think the other guy on the trip just like took out the other stuff out of the tent and shook the lizard out. But she was so freaked out. And this is, again, it's the first camping spot in the morning when people are just starting to get up. And here's me relaxing, probably a little asleep. That's me. And this is my kayak. I need to get a real little tent like this for backpacking. This was like so little and light. Mine, as opposed to, is rather big and heavy. This is Mount Charleston, by the way, in the background. And yeah, I hope that these pictures are just kind of giving you, here's me, a picture of what it was like. I'm not going to, and I could, not only did I consider myself the trip leader, but also the navigator. So at every stop, I was poring over my GPS and my map to make sure we were where we thought we were, which was not so easy because the lake level is much lower than when both the GPS and the map were printed. So we were encountering islands that just were not on these maps.
Is February the best time to do this? Because then it's not too hot, not too cold.
I would say that it would be better to go a little bit later. Like when we went, it was still kind of cold, and you can tell by how we were dressed.
Okay.
So I would say the best time would be, I would say probably April or October.
Okay.
So here's our campfire the second night, and some of this wood we brought ourselves, but these pieces that look more natural, you can kind of see how they're sharp at the end, gnawed by the beaver. And and you might ask, how did we get from point A to point B? Is we hired the Las Vegas Kayak Club to shuttle us and
Nice.
also to rent us kayaks. I didn't need the rental because I have my own, but they did a great job, and I've used them twice before. The Las Vegas Kayak Club, and this is more of a business than a club. But if you ever want to do just a one-day kayak trip or stand-up paddle boarding, go to their website, and the guy who runs it, Bally, is great. I highly recommend them. And have I gone completely full circle yet? I don't think so. I have so many pictures. Here we had like the rock skipping contest for the Olympics, and I won, by the way, representing Germany. Here again was that channel between the two parts of the lake. I don't want to spend too much time on this. In fact, I see I'm already out of time. So,
Oh my God, it's 4 o'clock already. That happened so fast.
let me show you though. I love maps. So let me show you on Google Maps where we went. So here's all of Lake Mead. So on a previous trip, we started here at, where is it? No, we started at South Cove Marina, and it was our goal to do the whole lake from here all the way to here, but it was really windy, and to make a long story short, we ended up around here, and we called the trip off and went back and got picked up at the Temple Bar Marina the next day. So this trip, we went back to the Temple Bar Marina, and how do I do this? I'll do measure distance. I forgot how to do that.
I don't know.
Maybe if I right click it. Yeah, measure distance. Okay, so we started here, and then we went through this channel here, and where we camped the first night was around here. After this says 14 miles. And the next day, we continued to hug along the Arizona side. And here's where we went through that channel that I mentioned, which I think was the most scenic part of the trip. And I believe where we camped that cove the second night was right here. And then the third day, we just, again, continued to kind of hug the Nevada side, because we wanted to take a break every like 2 hours or so. And so that's why we never like really cut across a wide body of the lake. So here's like the last time we were on the Arizona side, and then we cut over to here, and then we had a little break on this island because we were supposed to get picked up at 3:30, and we got here at like 1. So we relaxed here on this island, and then we went the rest of the way and got picked up. So you can see this says 38 miles.
Wow.
And our next trip is, you can see this whole Echo Bay arm. I'd like to do that. Now, one problem is the lake level is so low that they closed this Overton Beach campground. So I don't even know if I can get at the water from the road up here, but I'd like to start up here on the Overton arm and basically just do this Overton arm and probably end either back at the Temple Bar Marina or maybe this Calville Bay Marina. But beyond that, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'll either have to go like south of Needles or east of the Grand Canyon. So that is that. Thanks for watching that portion of the show. And do you notice any gambling questions that you think are really good ones to end the show?
I do.
Okay.
Can you talk about the new tax regulations on slot machines and how that changed?
I wasn't aware that it did change.
Oh, you didn't know? They raised it from 1,500, where you have to report taxes on slots, to, oh God, I don't know the amount. I think they doubled it, or 5,000. Maybe they put it up to 5,000. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they just changed the tax law. Do you want me to put your screen up on
first of all, do you see my screen?
I can see your screen, but nobody else can.
Okay.
Do you want me to put it up?
Well, I'm just looking at Google right now. The old limit was $1,200. And what I'm just seeing really quickly here is I'm not seeing anything about that being changed. So either I don't know about it, or it hasn't changed. But I'll look into it. Maybe I'll report on it the next show.
That
But
would be
that would be
cool.
the kind of thing you would think that I would have
Like
heard
to
of.
see it. I'll see if I could find that article I was reading and I'll text it to you.
Yeah, please do. And real quick Wizard of Vegas question.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned that there's somebody from New York on my forum who's always bragging about these great promotions that he's being offered by the internet sports books there. And they are good. They are just throwing money at the players there in New York. And I think that it's probably every state that has legalized sports betting on the internet or cell phone, except Nevada. And this doesn't surprise me because the casinos here in Las Vegas treat locals the worst. And there's hardly any bonuses here for online sports betting. But absolutely, if I lived in any state except Nevada that had legalized internet sports betting, I would absolutely look at the promotions being offered to you to gamble. Absolutely look into that carefully.
Nice. Well, this has been really fun. I always enjoy talking with you. I always enjoy doing these live streams together. And when is next time we are going to be doing another live stream in case we didn't answer somebody's question?
So I know we usually keep it on Thursdays.
At 3 p.m.
So I'm doing something the next 2 Thursdays. So how about April 7th?
Sounds good. And remember, guys,
No. March 31st.
March 31st. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And remember, you guys, the earlier you come in and ask your questions, the more likely we are going to be able to get to them. We do answer these questions in the order that they are received. So if you ask your question early, we will more than likely get to it. If it's later, we might not get to it. So.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Heather, for hosting the show, and thanks, audience, for showing up and for all your questions.
It's always
see you guys in 3 weeks.
Sounds good. Bye. Have a good one.
You too.